So Jarren Duran came up in trade rumors recently, and Bleacher Report decided to come up with some trade proposals for him. And you know me, I gotta dive into these, so let's go take a look. Real quick though, before I get to the trades, I do want to go over his trade value here on baseballtradevalues.com. Now for the median value, they have right around $71.5 million. That's a lot, but it can go as low at around $57 million or as high at around $86 million. Now, you gotta remember with Duran, he had a great season last year, both offensively and defensively, a burner on the bases, had right around a 7 wins above replacement on Fangraphs, right around an 8 on Baseball Reference, and he was the All-Star Game MVP. With his projections moving forward, as well as the years of club control he has 3 more after this year at a cheap rate. Add that all up together, and you're going to get a pretty high value. Now, where I fall in this range, I'm actually going to be towards probably the low end, to be completely honest with you. He has a very high BABIP over the last few seasons. He has a 341 BABIP this year, a 345 last year. Now, that could suggest that he's getting a bit lucky, but with Duran, he has played well at Fenway Park. If you look at the spray chart here, just for this year, he uses the green monster very well. So I do wonder how that could translate to other ballparks. Now, if you put him in a spacious ballpark, I could see a lot of hits falling in. Jarren Duran's just very good at getting balls hit into play, and with his speed, he can definitely get safe. He can beat out some balls as well. I also do wonder about his plate discipline. Last year, most of his plate discipline numbers were around league average, but this year, he's chasing out of the zone more, there's more swing and miss, and he's walking a lot less. And as of late, he has been heating up, has hit 292 over his last 15 games, and overall so far on the year, hitting 274, a 323 on base, a 423 on the slugging, a 105 WRC plus, has 13 stolen bases already. Jarren Duran would definitely be a great fit for a lot of lineups out there. Again, I don't think it would go as high as around $70 million, but I could see somewhere between this $57 to $70 million range. And also, I just want to point out that they did use baseball trade values to put together these trades, and I'm glad they finally admitted that, because every time we looked at trades from Bleacher Report, they always seem to line up in value. I'm just saying, but just because you plug players into the simulator and match up the values doesn't mean it's a good trade. It also has to make sense as well for both teams. And you might also be asking, why would the Red Sox even want to trade Jarren Duran? Well, as of right now, they're 30-34. They've been so inconsistent this year. The offense has been up and down. The starting pitching has been underwhelming. Just has not been a very good team this year. Now, sure, could they turn themselves around? Why not? We saw the Mets and the Astros do it last year. The Tigers got hot in the second half, even after trading away Jack Flaherty. The division, I'm not really looking at that. They're 4 out in the wild card, so we've seen bigger deficits overcome before. So I think the Red Sox could definitely get back in it, but if they do continue to fall out of it and they can't make up this ground, well, I think it could make some sense to move Jarren Duran. Why? Because he has high value. He can definitely bring back some good pieces for the organization, and that could even include some starting pitching. I feel like the Red Sox still need to beef up that area. Sure, Garrett Crochet, he's been amazing this year, but after him, it's been so up and down. They've had injuries, underperformances. I definitely think if you can get some starting pitching for Jarren Duran, that can make a lot of sense. But also, you got to factor in, they got the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, Roman Anthony, who can just slot right into the outfield. He should have been with the team, a few weeks ago, for crying out loud. Now, I think it makes sense for the Red Sox to hang on to Jarren Duran because he's a very good player, but I do see the sense in trading him as well. All right, so for the first trade, they have Jarren Duran going to the Cardinals, and back to the Red Sox, they got J.J. Weatherholt and Quinn Matthews. So, like I said, the values match up here, but I don't think this trade really makes a whole lot of sense. Now, for the Cardinals, J.J. Weatherholt, the number 1 prospect, Quinn Matthews, the number 2 prospect. Sure, that'd be a nice return for the Red Sox, but why would they want J.J. Weatherholt, a middle infielder, when you got Marcelo Meyer, you got Christian Campbell, 2 of the top prospects in the game? I don't really see why they would want J.J. Weatherholt. I mean, it wouldn't hurt at all, but I don't think that would be a preference of theirs. Now, Quinn Matthews, I could definitely see the Red Sox being interested in him. Had a very good season last year, 26 starts, 2.76 ERA, and if we're looking at the top 100 prospects overall, he does rank 40, so I definitely think that could be a guy to put into a trade like this. But J.J. Weatherholt, I don't really see the Red Sox wanting him. I think they would want to maximize as much pitching as possible. Now, if you're the Red Sox, maybe you could flip J.J. Weatherholt somewhere else, but from the Cardinals' point of view, I'm not sure how interested they would be in Jarren Duran. Now, sure, there is that Heim Bloom connection, but the outfield is kind of full right now. And for the Cardinals, I don't really see why they would want to be trading away two of their top prospects right now. They're kind of going through a bit of a transitionary period within their organization right now. Sure, they're in contention, but I don't see why they would want to give up top prospects at this point. Up next, they have Duran going to the Guardians, and back to the Red Sox, you got reliever Cade Smith and prospects Jason Chourio and Ralphie Velasquez. Here's another one that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, for the Guardians, I could definitely see the fit with Duran. Now, you have Quan out in left field, but with Duran, remember, he can go out into center field. Angel Martinez hasn't really been able to do much with the bat at the major league level, so this would definitely be an upgrade for their lineup, but I think the return for the Red Sox doesn't really make sense. Now, Cade Smith, one of the better relievers in the game, but the Red Sox, their bullpen's been completely fine this year. They actually rank 5th overall in Fangraph wins above replacement with their relief pitching. Again, they need help within the rotation, and with the prospects here, now, sure, I like Jason Chourio, a top 100 prospect. He could be a good all-around talent, but right now, I mean, the Red Sox, you don't really need him at this point. And Ralphie Velasquez, he's a first base prospect, has a pretty decent bat. And, I could see some people thinking, oh, that could be your future first baseman. You don't know what's going to happen with Tristan Casas moving forward after his injury. But the Red Sox recently just called Blaze Jordan up to AAA. He's having a great year. If Tristan Casas ends up not being the first baseman for the future, I could definitely see Blaze Jordan getting a chance, or maybe Raffy would actually want to play first base. Now, to me, someone that would make more sense over Cade Smith would be a guy like Luis Ortiz with some prospects, because he's a pretty good starter with years of control, and they do have Shane Bieber coming back, but he is going to be a free agent soon, and would Cleveland be interested in dealing from their rotation when they are a bit thin there? On to the next trade, and they got Duran going to the Reds, and back to the Red Sox, you got right-handed reliever Graham Ashcraft and pitching prospects Chase Burns and Chase Petty. Now, again, the values line up on paper, but this is another one that doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. Now, I do see the sense that the Reds need offense. They do rank bottom 10 right now in Major League Baseball with the offense, so they could definitely use an upgrade. Will Benson hasn't really been able to do all that much, so Duran would be a definite upgrade there, but I don't see why the Reds would give up someone like Chase Burns. He was the number 2 pick in the draft last year. He's having a phenomenal year in the minors. You don't give up good pitching prospects like this. It's very rare when a team gives up a top pitching prospect. I think the Red Sox would love to have someone like Chase Burns, but from the Reds' point of view, where they've been very good at developing pitching, why would they trade away Chase Burns? Maybe Chase Petty in a certain scenario, but they're not giving up Chase Burns, one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. And Graham Ashcraft, he's been in the bullpen this year, so I see the thinking with it, but I think in the end, it's just not going to work. Up next, they have Jarren Duran going to the Mets, and back to the Red Sox, they got first baseman Mark Vientos, right-handed pitching prospect Brandon Sproat, and shortstop prospect Jesus Baez. Now, I do see some of the thinking here. Duran would be an upgrade in the Mets lineup over Tyrone Taylor in center field. Now, remember, they brought in Jose Siri, but he has a fracture in his shin right now, so who knows when he's going to come back. And Duran would give them some more speed in the lineup. They are pretty middle of the road when it comes to stolen bases this year, so he would improve this lineup, but it would be a lot of lefties in this order, so I'm not sure if that's something the Mets would want. And I'm also a little hung up on the package here, going back to the Red Sox. Now, Brandon Sproat had a great year in the minor leagues last year. He really shot up all the rankings, but he's struggling a lot down in the minor leagues this year. He's still very talented. I think he can get himself turned around, so I could see the Red Sox being interested in him, but then I get hung up on Mark Vientos here. He's really struggling this year, had a breakout year last year, but so far this season, hitting .230, a .298 on base, a .380 on the slugging, a .94 WRC+, so I'm not sure if that's something the Red Sox would be interested in right now. Now, he could play first base, right? Obviously, Tristan Casas went down for the year, but what's going to happen in the future, when Casas comes back? That is a bit of a logjam right there. So, could they unload one of those guys? I'm not so sure. But again, I'm looking at the numbers here. I don't think the Red Sox would really want something like this. And then they got Jesus Baez. Sure, that would be a nice power hitting prospect to add to the organization. A righty. I think the Red Sox would like to have someone like him. But again, they have so many position player prospects, especially in the infield, in their system right now. So I'm not sure, if this is a complete package the Red Sox would want. Brandon Sproat, I could see them being interested in. I could maybe see something with the Mets if the Red Sox absolutely become sellers, but this package as of right now, I'm not fully feeling it. Now, for me, a cost-controlled starter like Tyler McGill would make more sense than Vientos for the Red Sox, and the Mets do have Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas coming back soon. Now, maybe you could do Vientos, who could be insurance in case Alex Bregman leaves in free agency, or if Bregman stays, Vientos could be an answer at first base, but then what happens with Tristan Casas when he comes back next year? Up next, they have Duran going to the Giants, and back to the Red Sox, they got first base prospect Bryce Eldridge and right-hander Hayden Birdsong. So again, like some of the other ones, I do see some of the thinking here. I think Duran would be a nice fit with the Giants lineup, and I think he would also be very good defensively in the outfield in that spacious park. Now in center field, they got Jung-Hoo Lee, but they have Elliot Ramos in left field, so maybe what you could do here is Ramos can go to DH, Wilmer Flores, he can kind of move around a little bit, come off the bench, and then Duran can go out to left field, but I don't see why the Giants would want to give up Bryce Eldridge. This guy is one of the top prospects in all of baseball, number 21 overall. This guy is going to have a tremendous bat, and the Giants, they've been lacking a prolific power hitter since Barry Bonds. I don't see why they would want to give up Bryce Eldridge. He was a first-round pick not too long ago, and he's killing it down in the minor leagues. He's hitting 283 with an 873 OPS overall right now. There's no way the Giants give him up for Jarren Duran. I just don't see it. They also have Hayden Birdsong. Now, I think we're on the right track here in terms of young major league ready starters. I think the Red Sox would like to have someone like Hayden Birdsong, and he's been pretty solid this year. He was coming out of the bullpen for the majority of the season so far, but he's gotten a few starts here over the last couple of weeks. Overall, a 2.37 ERA, FIP at a 3.44. He's got a 4-pitch mix. So yeah, I could see the Red Sox being interested in someone like him. But again, Bryce Eldridge, there's no way the Giants give him up. On to the next trade, and they have Duran going to the Tigers. And back to the Red Sox, you got right-hander Jackson Jobe and shortstop prospect Bryce Rayner. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't think this makes any sense at all for the Detroit Tigers. And I find it hilarious that they lead off with, why the Tigers for Duran? Heck, why not the Tigers for Duran? Well, I'll tell you exactly why not the Tigers for Duran. First off, their outfield is pretty much set right now. You got Parker Meadows, Kerry Carpenter, and in left field, you got Riley Green. I don't think you need to do anything with that. Sure, could you move one of these guys to the DH spot, but you already got Colt Keith in there. They're not taking him out of the lineup. So from a fit perspective, I don't really see it all that much. And why would the Tigers give up Jackson Jobe? He was the top pitching prospect coming into this year. He was the 3rd overall pick when they drafted him a few years ago. They were enamored with Jackson Jobe going into that draft, and he has an elbow injury right now, so that doesn't make any sense at all. And then Bryce Rayner, the number 11 pick from this past year's draft, why would they give up either of these guys? I think this is actually one of the worst trades on this list, and the fact that it ranks at number 5 out of 10, I think, is absolutely diabolical. And then they also say here under why it doesn't work, because they also have Kevin McGonigal in their system, the Tigers could easily afford to part with Rayner in a trade for Duran. Well, one of those guys could be your future second baseman, one could be the shortstop. So what the heck are we talking about here? Up next, they have Jarren Duran going to the Phillies, and back to the Red Sox, you got right-handed pitching prospect Andrew Painter and catching prospect Eduardo Tate. Now, I do see the fit with the Phillies a little bit. Brandon Marsh hasn't really been able to do anything this year. Max Kepler's been okay. At the top of the order right now, you got Bryson Stott, but he's got a 670 OPS. So Duran would be an upgrade in this lineup, especially for a Phillies team still trying to win a championship, still trying to get over the hump there. So Dave Dombrowski, I could see him making some kind of an aggressive move here, but for Andrew Painter, I don't see that. And then there's also Eduardo Tate in this deal, but Andrew Painter as well, like no way the Phillies are going to give him up. He's one of the top prospects in all of baseball, number 5, and easily the top prospect in their system. This guy has been phenomenal down in the minor leagues. Now, he just came back recently from Tommy John. He's been pitching pretty well for the most part, but there's no way the Phillies give this guy up. Zach Wheeler is not getting any any younger. Same with Aaron Nola. They need to hang on to Andrew Painter. And like I said in the beginning of the video, it's very rare that teams give up top pitching prospects like this. Not just top pitching prospects within their organization, but top pitching prospects in all of Major League Baseball. I don't see this at all. And, for the Phillies, if they bring in Duran, they're still going to be very lefty heavy in this lineup. So is that something they're going to want? I'm not so sure. What do you do with Brandon Marsh? The trade going back to the Red Sox, yeah, they would love Andrew Painter. Of course, who wouldn't want Andrew Painter? And then when it comes to Eduardo Tate, I don't really see why the Red Sox would want him. Carlos Narvaez has really broken out this year. He's emerged as a Rookie of the Year candidate. And they got Johanfran Garcia down in the minor leagues. He's been hitting very well down there. So I don't really see why the Red Sox would want him. Again, I see the thinking because Duran would improve their lineup, but there's no way they give up Painter. The Red Sox don't need Tate. I don't think this works. At number 3, they got Jarren Duran going to the Padres. And back to the Red Sox, they got shortstop prospect Leo DeVries and reliever Jeremiah Estrada. Now, I definitely see the fit with the Padres, and we got a report recently that the Padres were interested in Jarren Duran, which I'm not surprised at because they got a black hole in left field right now. They got Tyler Wade running around out there. Duran would be a huge upgrade there, and this lineup would be great with Jarren Duran at the top. You'd have Tatis, Arise, Machado, Merrill, Bogarts. That's a pretty solid lineup. They got some solid pitching this year. This is a team that could definitely make a run in the postseason, and you always know with A.J. Preller, this man's aggressive, and he's found a lot of ways to get deals done in the past. I'm not so sure about this one, though. Now, Leo DeVries, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. He's looking like a stud, the number 3 prospect in all of Major League Baseball right now. Like I said, A.J. Preller, he's been very aggressive, but will he be that aggressive? Would he give up the number 3 prospect in all of baseball? I'm not so sure. And I'm also going to say this too, for the Red Sox, would they want him to be the leading piece? I'm not so sure. Again, I've said it multiple times. I think they would want a pitcher to be the headline in a package. And sure, you got Jeremiah Estrada, but he's a reliever. The Red Sox, I think, need to go after starting pitching. So again, I see the thinking here. I see where Duran would absolutely upgrade the Padres, but I don't know if they would give up Leo DeVries. And for the Red Sox, I don't know if that would be the piece they want. Estrada would be nice, but they want starting pitching. Maybe you can get a third team involved and maybe work something out that way. But for this right now, I don't really see it. How about the Padres, arch rivals of the Dodgers? And in this one, they got Duran going to LA, and back to the Red Sox, you got Dalton rushing, left-handed pitching prospect Jackson Ferris, and shortstop prospect Emil Morales. Now, we've seen the Dodgers and the Padres hopes and dreams many, many times. Could they do it again here? Well, I'm not so sure about this one. Now, I do see the fit. Michael Conforto has been a huge bust for the Dodgers this year. You can put him right there out in left field. You can put him in center, Pages in left, whatever it may be. Duran could definitely fit here. And this offense, they don't even need Duran. They're the top offense in all of Major League Baseball this year. But my goodness, could you imagine Duran at the top of this lineup with Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar? Holy cow, what a lineup. But I don't see this trade package really working out for the Red Sox. Now, sure, I love Dalton rushing, but I don't really see a fit there. Like I said, you got Carlos Narvaez there. Dalton rushing, I guess, could be your future catcher maybe. But if not a catcher, then you look at, say, third base. Then you look at, say, first base. But again, what's going on with Tristan Casas for the future? I guess you could put rushing at first. Third base, right now, do they want to sign Alex Bregman long term? I don't know. And for the Red Sox, why would they want to bring back a left-handed bat? If you're trading away Duran, well, you got Roman Anthony there. So I don't really see the fit of Dalton rushing, really. Now, I like Jackson Ferris. He's a solid minor league pitcher right now. I think he's got a bright future. But again, like I've said, I think the Red Sox would want major league ready starting pitching at this point. And Emil Morales, decent prospect, nice to have in your system. Maybe he could turn into something. But in the end, I just don't really see this one either. And last but not least, they got Jarren Duran going to the Mariners. And back to the Red Sox, they get right-hander Bryce Miller, second base prospect Michael Arroyo, and catching prospect Harry Ford. Now, out of all of these, I think this one is probably the closest. But there are a couple of hang-ups here. Now, I do see the fit with Duran in this lineup. You got Randy Rosarena out in left field right now. You could move him to DH. Jorge Polanco can go to third, but Polanco's been very good at the DH spot. He's had a lot of injuries in the past, so do they want to mess with that and put him back out in the field? I'm not so sure, but on paper, I do see the fit. Now, when it comes to Bryce Miller, this is kind of what I'm talking about. A young, major league ready starter with years of control. Sure, he is having a down year this year, but the Red Sox, I think, would love to have someone like Bryce Miller, so I could see something there. But getting to another hang-up here, the Mariners in the past have not wanted to trade pitchers in their rotation, so would they want to part with him? I'm not so sure. Now, Harry Ford, sure, he is a catching prospect, and I've talked about how the Red Sox, Carlos Narvaez is broken out this year, but he has versatility. He's a very athletic player, so he can play other positions, so I could see the fit with Harry Ford. He is doing pretty well down in the minors this year. And Michael Arroyo, I think, is a solid prospect. He's got some pop from the right side. He's pretty far away, so I can see the Red Sox being okay with that. Again, I think there are some things that could get in the way here, but if the Mariners were willing to part with someone like Bryce Miller, I think you could get something done here, but I think that's going to be the biggest hang up. Duran, I think, would be huge for the Mariners. But again, out of all these trades, I think this one is probably the closest. I'm also going to say I was surprised he didn't include a few teams here, like the Houston Astros. You got Jose Altuve out in left field right now. You can put him back at second base, and then Duran go out to left field, so maybe they could try and work something out. Or the Pittsburgh Pirates. We know how bad they are when it comes to the offense. They can get themselves a cost-controlled bat here. They got young pitching within the organization. Now, I don't know if they would do Bubba Chandler, but I don't know. Maybe you can talk to the Pirates. Maybe even the Nationals, right? A team that I feel like isn't too far away from competing. They got some young pitching within the organization. Maybe a team like the Royals, who've had terrible offense from their outfield this year, and they do have someone like Chris Bubic, who's doing really well this year. Maybe you could see a scenario where they sell high on him. That way they can get back a cost-controlled bat, and for the Red Sox, they get back a cost-controlled arm. Probably not, though, because Bubic has been so good for them. I don't see the Royals trading him, but we've seen crazier things happen. But everyone, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on all of these trades down below in the comments. What do you think about them? Tell me your own trade proposals. Where do you think Jarren Duran should get traded to if he gets traded? And let me know if you think Jarren Duran even gets traded. But everybody, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.